Hey everyone. So I figured for the next couple uploads, I would just go recap some of the bigger free agency signings and sign-in trades or free agency acquisitions in general, just to go over some of them and just talk about what they mean for the team moving forward. So if that sounds good to you, feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy. So Montrez is now a Los Angeles Laker. I mean, everybody expected him to be at least somewhere else than the Clippers. I expected it. A lot of people didn't think it was going to be there because they were expecting, at one point, Montrezl Harrell was expected to get more than at least what he got, maybe more than 15 million, up north of maybe even 18 million. This was regular season Montrezl Harrell playing to a T, being phenomenal, averaging 18.6 points per game, just being a really impactful player off the bench, and he was the sixth man of the year. So the stats and the accolade just comes to show it. But when it came to the playoffs, and more specifically that second round against the Denver Nuggets, it really started to show that Montrezl Harrell was very highly ineffective in that series just because of how dominant Nikola Jokic was playing and how hard he was for Montrezl Harrell to stop him. I mean, Montrezl Harrell is not the best defender, and we kind of saw him get exposed in that series, if you will. Definitely feel like we saw that, and so I think the Clippers aren't terribly mad with this, especially since they got Serge Ibaka, but when that whole scenario situation with Montrezl Harrell, the report from ESPN when he was in interviews and he was asked about the certain things, questions in regards to this switch to the Lakers, he kept saying in terms of like, did the Clippers want him? He said, well, if I'm on the other side, it doesn't really seem like it then, does it? And he kind of gave pretty vague, rhetorical responses like, okay, obviously I'm not going to, if I was on the Clippers, I'd be there, or I wouldn't be on the Lakers. But I don't know, maybe I feel like there's definitely a possibility that the chemistry issues, we know that they were there. There was a lot of reports talking about the disgruntled players because of maybe the star treatment for Kawhi and Paul George. Kawhi was getting load management, and sometimes Paul George did. They only had their lineup effectively play together for about 12% of this season. Like everybody there to play. Like that's kind of insane. I don't even know the percentages of when Kawhi and Paul George played together, and I would have to think that's more insane in itself. But I could see why there were some issues there, but he kind of gave some pretty rhetorical responses. And then he kind of went into, it was a business decision, and how some of the teammates, like especially Patrick Beverley, the guy he had been with throughout his entire career, and just leaving him. And I mean, there was a tweet online of Patrick Beverley stating, what? Like he was really surprised about this move like 5 minutes after it went down. I was surprised. If you guys don't know, I am a Laker fan. So I'm excited, of course, because if to think that the Lakers could get better just from what the team they had and like the little assets they had to trade, the picks they didn't have, and how much they wanted to retain some of their core players, it just didn't seem likely that this was going to become the offseason they would get. They would acquire Marc Gasol, they would acquire sixth man of the year, like I said, Montrezl Harrell. They require sixth man of the year candidate Dennis Schroeder. They just brought in a lot of nice talent and, honestly, some relatively young assets. It's going to be a really interesting to see how this goes down for sure. But like I said, it was a pretty interesting way how this went down. I would have to think this was a chemistry issue, and I think the Thunder, Sam Presti is feeling pretty good about this. I mean, Serge Ibaka is definitely the better player and probably the better fit for their team, but we're going to have to see because he's definitely not the younger asset. He's like, I believe, 32, 33. He's up there, and Montrezl Harrell's at least 7 years younger than him, so there's obviously that youth factor that the Clippers just lost there, but they did get the veteran presence. But, yeah, like I said, the Lakers just continue to improve. This is kind of insane. I personally didn't think as a fan, and just as an NBA fan in general, that the Lakers are one of the winners of free agency, and almost had one of the best free agencies. You could arguably debate that. I just think it's crazy, and when we look at the fit and what you're going to get from Montrezl Harrell, you're going to get either a starting center who can be very effective, which I don't think that's what's going to happen with them. I think he's going to come off the bench. You're going to probably see Marc Gasol start, but if things don't go well there and Marc Gasol's better off the bench, you're going to see Montrezl Harrell. But if he's off the bench, you got the sixth man of the year winner playing your six-man role. I don't think it gets any better than that. He averaged 18.6 points per game last year, 7 rebounds. He even got 1.7 assists. He's just a really effective NBA player for sure. 58% from the field. Definitely his best season in the league, and it was just really interesting. It was really, as a Laker fan, it was really crazy to see how effective how just the intensity of the Laker-Clipper matchups. So, yeah, you're definitely going to get Montrezl's attitude, which it can help you at times, and I definitely think it can hurt. I mean, there was a whole situation with him calling Luka Doncic that a racial name I'm not going to say, and so there's those ups and downs with Montrezl Harrell for sure. Those kind of players who definitely are definitely those high motor guys who can really get your team moving in the right direction, can really turn the momentum of a game. But when I look at the fit for Montrezl Harrell, I'm not going to say right now that this is the right fit or it's going to fit, because just like we just saw with the 76ers last year, you can't just put a bunch of talent there together and just think it's going to work. It didn't work like that with the Sixers. They had Al Horford. We knew Tobias was an overpay, but they did it. And even Al Horford, but they figured, they'll figure it out. It's talent. Al Horford had a really good season in Boston, and it didn't work out. And it pretty much failed completely, and they had to make some moves with Daryl Morey there. But on to the Lakers here. When we look at the fit, I'm not going to say just because they brought in a bunch of new talent, it's going to work out. We're going to have to see how it works. I mean, obviously, it's better than Dwight Howard. It's better than JaVale McGee, and it's definitely better than Dwight Howard. I think you're going to take a step back on You're going to step back on defense here, but where you're stepping back on defense, you're definitely improving offensively, and just around the paint, his scoring is definitely better than some of the interior defense. He's one of the best interior scorers in our league today. Whether or not we like his game, but at the end of the day, long term for the Lakers, how this works out, I don't know if he'll take that second year on the team. I can't fully think he's gonna. I don't fully think he's gonna do it. It kind of depends on his market, if it fits for the Lakers. Maybe the Lakers trade him or deal him if they feel like it. I don't think they will. It's just gonna come down to, I think Rob Pelinka definitely wants him to re-sign or take that player out or take that option on the mid-level exception, which is still insane to think about. The Lakers, the amount of options the Lakers had, and they got Montrezl Harrell, probably one of the best ones they could have gotten. Definitely a good move by them. But like I said, I think down the line, if the Lakers are prioritizing the 2021 free agency, which a lot of ESPN sites have been saying just for Giannis or any other kind of big names, which everybody just automatically categorizes any all-star who's potentially looking to trade or move on to the Lakers. It's ridiculous. But yeah, basically all I'm saying is I think the fit can be interesting. I think he'll be a really good high motor guy who's going to provide a lot on the offensive end. I think he's not the worst defender, but we're going to definitely see a guy who can. The Lakers struggle with scoring at sometimes, and even a third option, whether that's Dennis Schroeder some games or maybe primarily Montrezl Harrell. I think what it comes down to at the end of the day is what kind of Montrezl Harrell you're going to get in the playoffs. Are you going to get the regular season Montrezl, the sixth man of the year Montrezl Harrell of the 2020 NBA season, or are you going to get the second round of the 2020 NBA playoffs against the Nuggets Montrezl Harrell? And yeah, that's it. I think Montrezl Harrell is pretty insane that the Lakers got him, and I'm kind of excited to see how it goes for the Los Angeles Lakers. If you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, comment down below what you think. Make sure to turn on the bell. Make sure you don't miss a video, and I'm out.